Tonight's talk will be given by Balaram Das Brahmachari. Most of you, almost all of you know him. He's been a monk here for over 18 years. This is his 19th year in the temple. This whole month, there's going to be a theme, as with the past couple months. This month's theme is mercy, befitting the month that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So Balaram will start us off with that theme. Tonight's talk will be on the topic of mercy.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Giri Varadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Yashoda Nandana Brajachana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajachana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari. Wow, that was a pretty spiritual sound coming from your phone. Is that like a notification? Oh. It's like a gong or something, huh? Nice. Hare Krishna. So we'll be reading from Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, to my left. So we'll be reading from chapter 10, Opulence of the Absolute, text 11. Bhajanarayan Swami, the other day, he was mentioning how Bill Gates, everybody knows that fellow, right? Bill Gates, he has some money to spend, so apparently he, in one of his homes, he created a system that was like automatic, and that you walk into the room, or he walks into the room, and somehow or other the system knows that it's him, and the temperature changes to his liking, whatever that is, 72. The windows, they open up, whatever. I mean, the blinds, they open up, and so that's what he was explaining. But then he explained how he got married, and how that became a bit of a friction or conflict, because his wife, she wanted the temperature different, different things different. So when she would walk into the room, it would change in a different way. So like that, there was a conflict. So similarly, we're here, for many years we didn't have a heating or cooling system, but we installed one a couple of years ago. So there's a big whatever on top of the roof, and they put an the system, what do they call those? Ducting system or whatever. So there's cold air, there's hot air, but it seems that we're having a similar problem, because what do? You keep the door open, or you turn the heater on? Because right now the heater's on, but the door's open, so it seems like there's differing opinions here. We could do a vote. We're in America, we could do a vote. I don't know. I don't know. Well, some people are, anyways, some people want it open, some people want it closed. I don't know, whatever. Some people are cold, some people are hot, I don't know. All right, so we'll read from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, Opulence of the Absolute, text 11. So if you could please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, Tesham evanukam parta aham ajnanajam tamaha nasham yam yatma bhavosto jnanadipena bhasvita. Translation. So this is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or God speaking to his friend Arjuna. So he says, to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Purport. Commentary. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares, anyone from there? Benares? No. Promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, thousands of people were following him. Prakashananda Saraswati, a very influential and learned scholar in Benares at that time, derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. Actually, that is not the fact. There are very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion, but even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So, the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. The Mayavadi philosophers think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. For them, this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God, as stated in this verse. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there's no possibility of understanding the supreme truth, absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead simply by speculating. For the supreme truth is so great that it is not possible to understand him or to achieve him simply by making a mental effort. Man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not a lover of the supreme truth, he will never understand Krishna or the supreme truth. Only by devotional service is the supreme truth, Krishna, pleased, and by his inconceivable energy he can reveal himself to the heart of the pure devotee. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Right, last paragraph. Due to the contamination of material association through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal of Vishnu can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee doesn't have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. Om Jnanativedandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmaditam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Makam Karitavachalam Pangam Langai Tegirim Yakripatamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinatadanam Vanchakaptribhishcha Kripasindubhivcha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right, translation one more time. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Hare Krishna. Tapas, do you think you can move this table here? Just in case I need some water. If I choke up in transcendental ecstasy or something. You could put it there. Thanks. So Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, earlier in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, he explains the nature of the soul, or the living entity. He explains how, we'll take a look. So in text 17, Krishna explains, that which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. He's talking about the soul. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore fight, O descendant of Bharat. Neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, nor he who thinks that it's slain is in knowledge, for the self slays not, nor is slain. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. And then he explains some principle of reincarnation. As a person puts on new garments, giving up the old ones, so you wear out your clothes, your t-shirt or your pants or your sari or whatever, and you want to get new ones, or there's a special festival or this or that, so you get new clothes and you give up the old ones. So similarly, the soul accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. The individual soul is unbreakable, how do you say that? Insoluble, and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. And there's a number of more verses done with the soul. So that's Krishna's instruction to Arjuna, and that's Krishna's instruction to us, that we are not the physical body or mind, but we're the soul, eternal soul. No birth nor death for the soul. And the nature of the soul is to... it's eternal, it's full of knowledge, and it's full of bliss. Whereas we see that the body is the opposite. Nor is it eternal, nor is it full of knowledge, nor is it full of bliss. It's opposite. So out of so many souls, there may be a fortunate soul who inquires into the absolute truth. They want to know what life is all about. What is the goal of life? Who am I? All of these important questions. And out of all of those souls, some of them may come to Krishna consciousness. Some of them may become Vaishnavas. Some of them may become devotees of Krishna. And what's the definition of a devotee of Krishna? One definition is, there's all different types of definitions, but one definition is simply one who chants Hare Krishna even once. That's one definition. You're considered a devotee. You chanted Hare Krishna once. Another definition is a satsanga tyag a Vaishnavachar, that alongside with chanting Hare Krishna and serving Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a person gives up worldly association. Association of people who have no interest in spiritual life. That's another definition. Another definition is simply by seeing a particular person, they're considered a advanced devotee. If that by seeing that person, you automatically start to chant, or you automatically remember Krishna. So there's different definitions, and that's just three. There's more, all types of different definitions. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explains this to Rupa Goswami, that Brahmanda Brahmate Kon Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij, that the soul, a soul is wandering from body to body, species to species, planet to planet. They're in the reincarnation cycle, samsara chakra. And by the mercy of Krishna, or by the mercy of God, they come in contact with a Vaishnav, or a devotee of Krishna. And by that contact with that devotee of Krishna, that soul is connected with Krishna. That soul is reconnected to Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And specifically it says Bhakti Lata Bij. It's like a seed in the heart. So the idea is that when this bhakti seed, or when this seed of devotion is planted within the heart or within a living entity, the consciousness, of course this is an analogy, then there's something that needs to happen. There's a watering process. So we water the seed. Put enough water, and then we need proper sunlight and so on. And then that seed will grow into a plant. And eventually will grow into a very strong plant that will produce a particular fruit. And that fruit is the fruit of love for God, or the fruit of love for Krishna. No, like a mango with no skin or no seed, that keeps on replenishing itself. This fruit of love for Krishna is there. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that, and we'll get into a minute who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a little bit. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says that, Krishna come again 500 years ago, he says that there's something that can get in the way of this particular growth of this plant and the ultimate fruit. And that is aparad, or offenses. So specifically, there's one offense that is extremely dangerous and critical and dangerous toward this Bhakti Lata Bij, this plant, and that is the offense of offending devotees of Krishna. So we just described what is a devotee some time ago. So to offend the servants of Krishna, the devotees of Krishna, this is what chokes the creeper. This offense will block the growth of the creeper, and we won't be able to attain that particular fruit, the fruit of love of God. So when we talk about offenses, there's different things that constitute that. One is to kill a devotee. One is to not be happy to see a devotee. When you see a devotee, you're not happy. That's an offense. One is to speak ill, to criticize a devotee, and like that. There's different offenses that we can commit. Which, we'll get into a little later. Now, when we think of love, so many things may come to our mind. When people think of love, they may think of loving their family. They may think of loving, like loving their friends. They may think of romantic love. They may think of, maybe sometimes, loving God. So there's different types of love that people engage in. And the idea, the Vaishnav conception, or the Krishna conscious conception, is that the love of God that one can experience is very specific. So, for example, we can love God, or we can love Krishna in a neutral sense, like a sense of appreciation. We could also love Krishna as a friend, or as a parent, or as a lover. And we see that these particular conceptions are very unseen within the world, unique in the world. Especially these servitude we know of. We know of servitude. That's a very common conception in religion. Friendship, not so much. Parental love with God, not so much. And this conjugal love, or if you want to say romantic love with God, not so much. So when we think of this, some of us we may think, oh well, this seems a little bit too much, or a little too amazing, or I don't know if I believe this. But this is what the scriptures talk about. They talk about how one can enter these relationships with Krishna, and how actually one has an eternal relationship with Krishna in one of these particular rasas. And now in relation to the conjugal rasa, or the how one can be a lover of God, like a romantic relationship. This is, for those who do know about it, it's very misunderstood. It is nothing like this world. We cannot compare it at all to the boy and girl, or man or woman, or whatever type of romantic relationships in this world. There's nothing like that. It is completely pure. And the greatest devotee in this particular relationship, this conjugal relationship, is Srimati Radharani. And we see on the altar here in the middle, there's deities of Krishna on the left playing the flute, or Giridhari on the left playing the flute, and on the right is Srimati Radharani with her hand up like this, which means do not fear, do not worry. So she is the greatest devotee of Krishna, and she's in this conjugal relationship with Krishna. So Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he wanted to experience this particular love, because he is God. So he doesn't understand, or he's not experiencing the love that his devotees have for him. A crude example, or example in this world, my mother has a lot of affection for me, but I can't understand that. I can't understand that at all. I have no experience of that. Her affection, or her love for me as her son. I can't experience that. It's out of my range of experience. So, similar idea is Krishna. He was wondering, what is this that Radharani, Srimati Radharani, feels for me? What is this emotion? What is she feeling for me? So he decided that let me come to this world, to this material world. Krishna's in the spiritual world, but he thought, let me come to this material world, and let me come in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya, which on the left altar, there's two personalities there. One is on the right is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the left is Nityananda. So the right is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his appearance is coming up this Thursday, the day he appeared. We're celebrating that, Gaur Purnima. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Krishna, but he's coming in the mood of Srimati Radharani, the greatest devotee of Krishna. And he's accepted the complexion of Srimati Radharani, or that golden complexion. So we have Srimati Radharani, Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagapate, Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostate, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari. So Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari. So Srimati Radharani is of golden complexion, and the daughter of Vrishabhanu Maharaj. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has accepted the complexion, golden complexion, and the mood of Srimati Radharani. And what is the business of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? One is that he is relishing this great ecstasy of Srimati Radharani. He's relishing the ecstasy of being a devotee. That's one. And two is he's giving out mercy to people. He's giving out mercy to people. He's giving people spiritual knowledge, Rupa Goswami and so on. And these personalities are taking this knowledge and writing books which are now distributed throughout the world. And he's giving the process of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, which is the supreme mercy or the supreme kindness for this age we're in. And what is the value of chanting Hare Krishna? The value of chanting Hare Krishna, as Krishna says here in the verse today, that Krishna dwelling within our hearts, because there's a soul, we're the soul, and then there's Krishna there dwelling there, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when Krishna sees our endeavors to reconnect with Him through the chanting of His holy names, the holy names of Krishna, then the ignorance within our heart is dissipated. The contamination within our heart, the darkness in our heart is dissipated, and we come to the platform of real transcendental happiness, and we come to the platform of reawakening our true nature, which is a blissful servant of Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gifts, the gifts of chanting the holy name and so on, it's not a sentimental thing. There's a lot of philosophical understanding behind it. And the more we're able to engage in the process of chanting Hare Krishna, the more we become free from illusion, which means free from suffering. So this is the great mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has given us the Hare Krishna mantra. Again, he appeared 500 years ago. His celebration's coming up this Thursday. And his representatives, most important representatives for this particular time, we have Srila Prabhupada to my left. He came to America in 1965. Give the Hare Krishna mantra to everyone throughout the world, actually, and give the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is a demonstration of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. One, he comes personally to teach what it is, how to be a devotee. And two, he gives out his mercy, the chanting of the holy names and so on. And 3, he sends his representatives to give us the process of bhakti yoga, by which, by us taking, we will reach the platform of transcendental happiness. All right, I'll stop there. Does anybody have any question or comment? Sure. Hand the man the mic. 1 minute. We're live streaming this, so whoever around the world wants to hear could hear. So just, well, what are carbohydrates? Well, yeah. Good answer. You'll understand what are carbohydrates at tonight's dinner we'll be serving. All right, any other question? Yes.
How old was Prabhupada when he came to America?
69.
Yes.
69?
Yes.
And then how long did he live after that?
He lived until he was 80, what was it? 1. Yeah. 1977. Yeah. You're welcome. So 12 years he was traveling around the world and spreading Krishna consciousness. Yes.
Okay, comment. I've been coming around here for like 6 months now, so taking the two extremes of devotee.
Congratulations. Thank you for coming by.
So taking the two
You've been
extremes.
pretty steady.
Yes, taking the two extremes, having chanted Hare Krishna one time, and the other where I hear you should be doing 16 rounds a day. I've just started doing like 1. But anyway, the point I have is I get a little confused with some of the words. Like we say heart and ignorance and shedding light on my heart to remove the darkness of ignorance and
Yes.
knowledge.
Yes.
I think of knowledge and ignorance like something I do with the mind. Like I know my soul and my primarily through my mind and through my feelings type thing. So I was wondering, like, can I take that what chapter 10 text 17 you mentioned that, because I know my intent is there. So
Yeah.
so is that because I'm new to the whole Vedic thing, so I'm studying a lot and I'm reading a lot, and I try not to go down too many rabbit holes because there's so much stuff out there. They're not rabbit holes, but there's just infinite amounts. So that's where my knowledge comes in, and I'm a little confused with there's a knowledge yoga, which this is not it. It's bhakti, which is the supreme. But my quick question is. Can I, that idea that if my intent is there, that I can get this intense knowledge by something what they would call grace or mercy, all of a sudden, boom, I don't need, not that I don't need, but I don't need to get all this material down. Because it does help. I read the Gita and I get a lot of aha moments and I get it. I really do, and I'm inspired. And that changes my heart, and I love God. I mean, when I started coming here, I just substituted the name of Krishna for God type thing. And I read and I took, imagined various personalities and so on. But I'm just wondering if that's what that kind of meant.
Yeah.
Sorry if that's a long-winded question.
Thank you. Yeah, so a few points in relation to that. That Bhagavad Gita is not an armchair philosophy. Armchair means you sit back and you put your arm in the chair, you drink some coffee, smoke a cigar, and you just sit around and talk about philosophy, and then you move on with your life. One of our teachers, he visited a professor with here in America, Sanskrit professor, and he asked the professor, "Did you read the Bhagavad Gita?" And the professor said, "Of course. I'm a Sanskrit professor. Of course I read the Bhagavad Gita." And our teacher said, "Did you understand the Bhagavad Gita?" And the person, "Of course I understood the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, I'm a PhD, And then our teacher said, "So what are you going to do?" And then the man was thinking, "Do? Like, what do you mean, Bhagavad Gita, do? Like, what are you supposed to do?" So in other words, there's instructions that are laid out that the idea is that the people are supposed to follow those instructions and then get a particular benefit or a particular result. So Krishna says, for example, Sarvadhamam Pratyajam Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, surrender unto me. What does that mean? It means become a devotee. It means offer obeisances unto me. It means give everything to me out of love and devotion. That's who you are. You're a servant of Krishna, eternal servant of Krishna, which is a blissful thing. So, yeah, it's not it's a philosophy that is based on action. It's supposed to create some movement within us. So in other words, when we talk about knowledge or ignorance, it's not just, oh, well, I have knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. I could spin off a bunch of verses, off the top of my head. With all due respect, what's a polite word? Our teacher would say often, any fool and rascal could do that. In other words, any debauchee could do that. A person, with no moral standards could do that. So when we talk about ignorance and knowledge, what does that mean? Removing the ignorance. It doesn't just mean that we have theoretical knowledge of the Gita. It means that ignorance means we keep on engaging in activities that are not good for us. If you want to say sinful activities, if you want to say immoral activities, if you want to say activities that do not bring us closer to God, we keep on doing those activities. So to remove the ignorance means to remove those desires, means to awaken those desires for good things, for God within us. That's what it means to remove that ignorance. Prabhupada gives the example. Someone's very attached to sex. Gives that example. And from that, they get diseases. A particular disease. We'll get into the details, whatever. But because they're attached to that activity, even though it causes them so much suffering and disease, sometimes disease that will kill them, they're forced to engage in that activity because of their lusty desire within their heart, or the ignorance within their heart. So we could think of it like that with any activity. There's activities that bring us away from God, and there's activities that bring us toward God. So that ignorance, removing that ignorance means that attraction to God is awakening more. The interest is awakening. So yeah, thank you. Okay, you sure? Please. Okay, still processing? All right. Any other question, comment? All right. Dhamarash?
What would we say to someone that says they can be happy or they are happy without God?
Well, there's different types of happiness. I mean, sometimes people's ideas of happiness can be very weird or strange or bizarre, or like it could just be based on relief. Like, for example, in one sense, you could call it a sense of happiness. Like traditionally, and when people would do wrong things, they would. I think it's called waterboarding. Is that what they call it? Now, we're not talking about, the SoCal guys going out there hitting the waves. We're talking about when someone broke the law in certain societies, they would take them out in a boat and they would grab their hair or whatever, and then they would just submerge their head into the water up to the point of drowning. And then somehow they calculated how long that took. And then they'd pull the person's head up and then they get a gasp of air. You could say in one sense it's, relief. It's like, I got some air, God. But then you submerge back down. So you could say it's like a relief or happiness. I mean, so people similarly, they're getting battered, not maybe physically, but mentally here and there. It's a tough world. So let me go to the bar and, hit the bottles, and it's a similar thing. You get some relief from the suffering of this world, but then submerge back again. So there's all different types of ideas of happiness. Of course, that's people saying, oh, that's really kind of intense. But what about the happiness of being a good person? There's something there. You open up hospitals, you give charity, this and that, or you're a religious person. You dress up and go to church or go to the temple or go to the mosque or whatever. There's a certain type of happiness there. You have one wife or one husband you stick with. You have nice kids. There's a certain type of happiness there. And that is definitely superior to the happiness of just kind of relief happiness, going to the bar or something. But all of these types of happiness, they are considered to be like a drop in the water, like a drop of water from the ocean, in comparison with the ocean of love of God. It's an ocean, unlimited ocean. So the quantity is just inconceivably vast. So there's something there, but in comparison, it's not. There's no comparison. And therefore, as humans, there's generally 4 goals. There's dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So dharma is to be a religious good person. It's nice. Artha, get some money, right? Stack up, whatever. Invest money in stocks and build up the bank balance. Dharma, artha. Kama, satisfy desires. So many desires. I want to go to Paris. I want to go here. I want to go there. You satisfy so many desires. And then moksha. Maybe people think about it. Okay, what about liberation? What about the afterlife? Now, beyond all this is prema pumarta mahan. Prema pumarta mahan is the 5th goal. It's kind of a forgotten one sometimes. That 5th goal is love for God. That's the best. So that's the real happiness of the soul. And even if you want to say all these other happiness, there's something there, which there is, or else people wouldn't be engaged in them, obviously. There's something there. It's a reflection. In terms of the happiness and relationship with Krishna, there's no comparison. It's eternal. It's eternal the happiness of the soul. So, yes. Sir.
How does surrendering myself to God lead to me being free?
Okay. We see that as living entities, we have to be addicted to something or someone. People are addicted to video games. People are addicted to food. People are addicted to whatever, on and on and on. There's billions of addictions. Millions of apps, apps on the phone. How many apps are there? I don't know. I think there's 15 million or something like that. I forgot, something like that. So any one of these apps can form an addiction. Or what to speak of just an addiction of just checking the phone. You can't get the eyes off the screen. It's addiction. So that is a form of. I mean, it's difficult because to understand that as in a form of enslavement, in certain regards, is easy to understand. For example, if I'm an alcoholic, Everybody could understand and agree. I am enslaved by my addiction. I go to the liquor store and I have the only option I have is which bottle I'm going to choose. That's my restriction. That's how I'm enslaved. Which shiny bottle do I want to pick? But I do not have the freedom to say, no, I'm not doing this. So in this way, a soul is not free. But even with more wholesome forms of enjoyment, it's an attachment, it's an addiction. And if we're too dependent on that, then we're not free. So by surrendering to Krishna or by loving Krishna, we become free in the sense that we're not controlled by anything in anything or anyone of this material world. We're only controlled by Krishna through love and devotion and the instructions of Krishna. And again, this is the platform of happiness. This is the platform of freedom. Because any attachment does create suffering. Attachment creates suffering. So if we become attached wholly and solely to God or Krishna, then we save ourselves from so much suffering of being attached to. Now that doesn't mean that one doesn't have a family. You have a wife, a husband, children, a job, this and that. You could have all of these things, but you're not overly attached. You love them, there's affection, there's respect, there's love and all that, but there's not a attachment that causes suffering. Your main attachment is to God, which is real freedom. So that's the idea. Yes. I hope that helps to some degree.
Can one be too attached to devotion?
All right. Our teacher, Srila Prabhupada, he was asked one time, he was asked, how do you know who is a guru, who is a teacher? And he said, the best teacher. And he said, that person who is most addicted to Krishna, they're the best teacher. Yeah. So he said that to John Lennon. There's a conversation they had. So there's no too much. One cannot be too attached to devotional service or too attached to God. That's the goal, and it's good. It produces, good, auspicious, most blissful results. Yeah. So.
Like avoiding fanaticism. I think maybe that's what he's trying to
Oh, fanaticism.
too addicted to devotion to where you become fanatical.
Well, we would say that if someone becomes fanatical if someone becomes fanatical and when they're too devoted, it's not real devotion. There's some mix there. It's not pure. I guess that's the problem with religions. A lot of the time, that people become fanatics. That you accept, what my book says and what my leaders say, or damnation of the soul or whatever it is. You're not going to be saved and so on. So yeah, that's another thing. Do you have something else you want to say in relation to that? Like a follow-up question, or is that? Okay, Guru Krishna.
So Krishna talks about in Bhagavad Gita not eating too much or too little, not sleeping too much.
Yes, that's true.
Or not enough. Sometimes we, in our experience over so many years of ashram life, we'll get someone who's very enthusiastic, and all of a sudden he's only sleeping 4 hours a night, and he's only eating a handful of food, and then he just goes kind of off the deep end.
Yes.
He went beyond his realization.
Yes, that's true.
And then for married people, or for people who don't, want to join the ashram as a celibate monk, they still have to pay the rent. And so we see sometimes people from our congregation, when they discover Krishna consciousness, they become so excited that they go too far into donating their time and money, and all of a sudden they're in an economic hardship. So
Yeah.
has to be a balance in
Yeah, that's true.
either as a celibate monk or a married man, some kind of balance.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, if one wants to be a yogi, they should not eat too much, eat too little, sleep too much, sleep too little. They should be balanced in their recreation and so on, all of these things, and they could be happy, satisfied. So yeah, there has to be balance, and it's true, although it's somewhat rare these days, but it has happened historically, and I've seen it to a degree throughout the years, that sometimes they go overboard. One time, Srila Prabhupada, he had a disciple who was very austere, just eating like very little, sleeping very little, and actually in India he was living in a tree, just chanting Hare Krishna all day, like literally in a tree. And Srila in Mayapur, and devotees were taking a morning walk, and devotees were talking to Prabhupada about him. They're saying, what's going on with this person? And Prabhupada, our teacher, Srila Prabhupada, he wasn't saying anything. Yeah. And then after a couple of days, the devotees, were trying to get some response from Srila Prabhupada about what he thought about this person. And then the devotees started to explain that, yes, this person thinks that, and then Prabhupada, he cut the devotees off. He said, as soon as he says, I think, he's in Maya, he's an illusion. Now, what does that mean? It means not that we turn our intelligence off, we turn our brain off, but it means that there's an outline of devotional service, there's an outline of bhakti, how to engage in the process. And as soon as one starts speculating, making stuff up, then they're an illusion. That's what he was saying. So he said, this person living in the tree, Srila Prabhupada, he's in Maya, he's an illusion. And later on, of course, he couldn't maintain that. Devotees met him some years later, working at a gas station, and no offense to people work at a gas station, or whatever, but working at a gas station, and the devotees asked him, "Why are you chanting anymore?" And he said, "No, I'm not chanting." He said, "I chanted enough, while I was up in those trees." So it was an imbalanced approach. Although it's rare. But then you're also mentioning maybe someone's a householder, they're making money, supporting their family and so on, and they might go overboard and try to give too much to the temple or donate, and they financially suffer like that. And I would say this is kind of rare. There's a case of Srila Prabhupada's guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He had a householder disciple, and he was working, and the wife was a housewife, stay-at-home mom, and this disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would literally take everything he made, like everything, and he would just give it to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, to his guru, the whole donation, like this whole paycheck. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he had to, give some money back for their maintenance. And so, when we talk about balance, we need, if we tend to have difficulty in balancing our life or our choices, therefore there's the principle of guru or teachers. They help us with to make the right choices. That's the idea. There was, Does anybody have any other question?
I have one last question.
Okay.
Should we start immediately, or should we wait, for some time in the future? Without being fanatical.
Yeah. All right, that's a good question. Well, Srila Prabhupada was asked this one time, and he said, better you start now. Better you start your spiritual life now, instead of later. And then Srila Prabhupada, he told this person, do you know if you'll have a later? Better start now. Now, of course, someone would say, hey, reincarnation, I got later, life after life. But if something, Chanakya Pandit, one great thinker of India, maybe some of you know him, he says if you have an opportunity to do something auspicious or good, you should do it immediately. Because if you don't do it immediately, things may change and you may lose the opportunity. And if you have an opportunity to do something inauspicious or bad, put it off. Because things may change and you may not have to do that. So, yes, we should try to understand how Krishna consciousness is important, how Bhakti Yoga is important. And that will be our fortune. And if we understand that, then yes, as soon as we understand that, then that it's good, it's auspicious, then we should do that immediately. So, yes.
Point, I think, is answered in this wonderful verse from the 11th canto, if you allow me to
Yes.
share it. Labdvas durlabam vidam bahusam bhavante manusham artadam anityam apiya dira turnam miteta nabateta namityava nikshayasaya vishayakal sabatakse. So this is, I think, Krishna speaking in Bhagavad Gita. Could be the Yogendras. Oh, human being, you have attained, after many, many births, this very rare human life. Bahusam bhavante manusham, same word, manusham, human being. Artadam. And only in this form of life can you actually achieve the goal of life, which is to escape the round of birth and death and go back to Godhead. And therefore, turnam, the word turnam it means right away, don't delay. Yateta, strive for pure Krishna consciousness. Since as long as you're alive, because nikshayasaya vishaya, nikshayasaya means the ultimate good as opposed to these temporary pleasures of sense gratification. Because you've experienced all of them in all these other lives. And where has it gotten you? Here you are, still embodied by a physical body. So that that injunction to don't delay. If you're inspired to begin Krishna, then begin, start it, investigate, go down that path, because so many things can happen. You can, be swept away, and you won't have that chance. So the answer is yes. Don't delay. Do it right away. Hare Krishna.
All right, thank you. Hare Krishna.